What's up everybody, PC Tracks here, welcome to my video. In this video, I'm going to help you to get a basic idea on how to speedrun the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Randomizer. All of the information that I'm going to teach you is going to go hand in hand with the most popular category and, in my opinion, the best category for the SotN Randomizer, GSB, or also known as Glitchless Spikebreaker. Take note that the only link that I'm going to be providing you to help you get started is the SotN.io randomizer tool. I will not be providing any links or explaining any sort of setup to help you get set up to play on emulator or actual hardware. For all of that other stuff, you're going to have to simply get it from another resource or use Google. So assuming that you have your setup already and all set to go, you're at the file select screen and ready to press start, we can proceed to the prologue. Assuming that you have ran Alucard in the past, the techniques that you're going to use are pretty much going to be the same techniques that you usually use in the prologue. Hydrostorm stacking is the only glitch that is permitted when playing GSB. Another thing to make note of as well is that the items that you would obtain from the prologue, so let's say Neutron Bomb, Heart Refresh, and Potion, these items can be randomized at the moment that you start as Alucard in the first castle. So just to set an example, let's say in the prologue you want to get a Neutron Bomb, so you would get the 41 hearts before the Dracula fight. At the moment that you would appear as Alucard, instead of having a Neutron Bomb, you can have a library card. And that's pretty much it for the prologue. There's nothing else too fancy to go over, so let's move on to when playing as Alucard. So now as Alucard, before I get into the routing stuff, let me go over the rules of Glitchless Spikebreaker. In GSB, hence the name, you don't want to do any sort of glitches, so you cannot do any clips, skips, or something like the shop glitch, for example. The only glitch that is permitted, as mentioned before, is the Hydrostorm stacks when playing as Richter in the prologue. During your routing, you need to have the key items in order to progress into the game as intended. That means you need the gold ring from Succubus, the silver ring from the Spike Room, holy glasses from Maria, you need to save Richter by killing the Shaft Orb, and lastly, you need to have all 5 Vlad relics so that you can open up the ceiling in the center clock room in the second castle so that you can proceed to kill Shaft and Dracula. An important note when getting the silver ring is that before you enter the Spike Room, you need to have Spikebreaker equipped. You cannot obtain the silver ring by using, example, Misted Power of Mist. You can't abuse iframes. You have to get it as if you were playing the game as intended. So that's pretty much it for the rules of the category. Let's move on to the guts of the video, the routing. So routing is probably the most important thing when speedrunning a randomizer. Especially when running this the first time, there is a pretty good chance that you're going to get lost. There's a pretty good chance that you're going to get overwhelmed because you're not sure of which path or route to take depending on which relics and items that you currently have. However, in this video, I'm going to do the absolute best I can to explain a general idea that you can take so that your chances of getting lost are going to be much less. But something that you have to be aware of is that this is not a one-to-one guide on how to speedrun a certain seed. Of course, every new seed that you do is going to have a different route. Again, this is going to give you a general idea so that you can follow a type of game plan whenever you reach a certain point of the castle. I'm going to split the first castle into 3 parts. You have the center castle, the lower castle, and the upper castle. The center castle consists of the entrance, alchemy lab, marble gallery, outer wall, library, Allrock's headquarters, and the Colosseum. The lower castle consists of caverns, abandoned mines, and catacombs. And then finally we have the upper castle, which consists of the chapel, the outer keep, and the clock tower. So with all of this being said, the general idea that I tend to follow is to clear the center castle as much as you possibly can, followed by going to the caverns, so lower part of the castle, so that you can get the gold ring from Succubus, then go to the catacombs so that you get Spikebreaker. After you get Spikebreaker, you work your way back up into the upper part of the castle so that you can use Spikebreaker to get the silver ring, and then after all of that, you would make your way to the holy glasses, and then after you get holy glasses, you go and save Richter so that you can proceed to the second castle. Within the next part of the video, I'm going to help you visualize of what you're going to encounter and what options you can take depending on the situation that you're in. Again, it is impossible to list every single option that you have because every seed is different. But this is going to teach you the questions that you can ask yourself so that it's going to make it a little bit easier for which route that you have to take next. When starting off as Alucard, the routing that you're going to take is very similar to as if you are running all bosses and relics save Richter. What this means is that you would typically do your route as you normally would during the clock rush, but before you go to the center clock room, you would make your way to the spirit orb check to see what relic is there. After you're done checking out which relic it is, you can make your way to the center clock room. This is going to be one of the key points of the route. You're going to have to ask yourself these 3 questions. Do I have Jewel of Open? Do I have movement options? Do I have a source of flight? So pretty much at this point, let's say for an example, you have Leapstone. If the clock statue is open, you have 2 choices. You can either make your way to Allrock's headquarters, or you can keep on going right towards the outer wall. Even better, if you have a source of flight, you can check out the grab jump location first before making your way to Colosseum if you choose to go there. But for the sake of simplicity, let's say that you don't have any movement option or don't have any source of flight. That means that you have no choice but to keep on going towards the right. Making your way through Marble Gallery, you are approaching the blue door with a switch. So once again, you want to think back to the questions that I was asking. Do you have Jewel of Open? At this point, if you do have Jewel of Open, you might as well activate the switch now so that you don't forget later. What this means as well is that you have the option to go to Caverns. You can if you so choose to, but since you don't have any movement options or flight, it's something that I don't recommend to do at this point. You want to keep on making your way towards the right, going to the outer wall. Check out what's at the Soul of Wolf location, activate the elevator switch, and something that I can't stress enough is don't forget to activate the teleporters. At this point, assuming that you have no choice but to head to the library, check out the Fairy Scroll location, and then make your way to the shop. The shop items, including the shop relic, will always be randomized. The shop relic will also always be 500 gold. So something to keep note about, especially when first starting off the seed, is do your absolute best to try to obtain 500 gold before you reach the library. If you go to the shop before you have 500 gold, and the shop relic is something important, you have no choice but to farm, which is not fun. So pretty much at this point, you bought whatever that you had to buy in the shop. While leaving the shop, this is a perfect key point to think about where you are going to go next, depending on the relics that you have. You need to ask yourself those 3 questions once again. I'm not sure how many times I'm going to repeat myself, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do I have Jewel of Open? Do I have movement options? Do I have a source of flight? It's safe to say that if you have a source of flight, you're pretty much set to almost go anywhere you want. Something that I like to do around the outer wall area, especially if you have a source of flight or if you're able to chain grab jumps, is to take a peek at the upper part of the castle. Go check out the Fire of Bat location, get that relic first, explore the Clock Tower courtyard, and then head back to the outer wall. But ultimately, we want to go back to our game plan. Center castle, lower castle, upper castle. If you have a source of flight, you can take the warp and go to the entrance to check out the entrance relic. You can then go to the alchemy lab and check out the 2 relics there. At the very least, if you have a movement option, you can go to Allrock's headquarters from the center clock room and check out what's at Colosseum. Once again, if you do have a source of flight, you can go to Allrock's headquarters and fight Allrock himself, and you can check out what's at the sword card location. If you have Jewel of Open, you can enter the blue door, activate the switch to go to Caverns, and go straight to Caverns after that. Now let's assume that you have cleared out all of the relics in the center castle. Ask yourself the same 3 questions. Do I have Jewel of Open? Do I have a source of flight? Do I have movement options? Ideally, let's say that we have Jewel of Open and we have a source of flight. This is pretty much the point where we're going to follow our game plan and head to the lower part of the castle. So we get the switch activated past the blue door and we're going to go down to Caverns. While in Caverns, since we are able to fly, we might as well head to Succubus and obtain the gold ring, so we could get that key item out of the way. Once you're done with Succubus and ready to go back down to Caverns, we're going to be reaching at a point where you can check out the Holy Symbol location if you have the Merman statue already. If you do not have Merman statue at this point, you're going to have to remember to backtrack at this location when you obtain the Merman statue at a later point of the castle. Proceed to check out the Leapstone location, make sure to activate the switch so that dead Donkey Kong is going to appear near the bridge, and then make your way to the Abandoned Mines. Once you obtain the relic at the Abandoned Mines, this is pretty much the point where you have to see if you have the prerequisites in order to get the Spike Breaker. If you know how to do the Darkroom Blind, the only relics that you need are either Soul of Bat or have Mist and Power of Mist. If you do not know how to do the Darkroom Blind, That means that you're going to need some form of insurance. That means that you need to have Echo of Bat. If you don't have Echo of Bat at this point, you're going to have to take the warp near the abandoned mines and make your way to the upper part of the castle until you find Echo of Bat. After that, you can backtrack back to the catacombs so that you can obtain Spikebreaker. Assuming that you now have Spikebreaker, now we can go back to our game plan and head to the upper part of the castle. You can take a warp at the abandoned mines, or this is pretty much a good point to use a library card if you have one. You'd want to take the warp that is closest to your current location and use that to go to the closest warp that is going to bring you to the silver ring in the chapel. Make sure to have Spikebreaker equipped, get the silver ring, and at this point you want to check out the last relics at the outer keep. You can then use the silver and gold ring to get the holy glasses from Maria. Now before you make your way to save Richter, go over the map and make sure that you have obtained every relic in the first castle. The only relic that you could be missing is the holy symbol relic, to which you would need the merman statue to access it. Once everything is all said and done, after you obtain the holy glasses, if you do have a library card, this would be a good point to use it. Make your way back to the outer keep, don't forget to equip the holy glasses and destroy the shaft orb so that you can save Richter and thus proceed into the second castle. Now we are finally in Second Castle. Second Castle could be very interesting. It could also be very scary, especially in a racing environment. Now let's take the same map that I showed you before, flip it completely upside down, and add a couple of routes to it. You're going to notice that there are 3 colored routes. You have the red route, which is known as the statistical route. You have the green route, which is known as the creature route. And then you have the purple route, which is a variant of the red route. This is the beeline route. So basically, at the moment you kill Darkwing Bat, you have the choice in between going creature or going statistical. So why is the red route called statistical route? The reason why is because you have 2 relics in the way before you can make your way to caverns if you don't already have the 5 Vlad relics. Going the creature route, the only relic that you find along the way is just 1 relic, which hence the name is a creature. So the only reason why that you would want to take the creature route is if you want to take the gamble that there is no Vlad relic that is going to appear at Medusa or Akmodon. Ultimately, regardless if you take the statistical or creature route, they both stem into going into caverns. Once you're in the inverted caverns, your next relic checks are going to be at Force of Echo, Death, and Galamoth. As for the purple route, the only time that you're going to take the beeline route is if you have all 5 Vlad relics before you encounter Akmodon. Once you have all 5 Vlad relics, you want to make your way back to the center clock room so that the ceiling is going to open up so you can make your way to kill Shaft and finally Dracula to finish your seed. One thing that I want to make note of is at this point, when you have checked every single relic that you possibly could in Second Castle, if you are still missing one last Vlad relic, that means that the Holy Symbol location has it. You would have to backtrack back to First Castle, back to the caverns, go to the Holy Symbol location, take the teleporter once again to go back to Second Castle, and finally make it to the center clock room so that you can kill Shaft and Dracula. While it is a complete pain in the ass for this to happen, these types of things do occur, and you have to prepare yourself in the event that it does actually happen in your seed. A tip that I can give you is if you do have a library card in Second Castle, after you obtain your final relic, you can use the library card to go back to the library in First Castle, make your way to caverns, and get that final Vlad relic. It is definitely going to save a little bit of time in backtracking. So that's going to be pretty much it. I really hope that this video helped you out to give you a basic idea on how to speedrun the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Randomizer. I genuinely enjoy running the SotN Rando, so consider this video as a way for me to give back to the community. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that unless if you've played Symphony of the Night a ton and you know what every weapon and item does, Dragon Blitz and TalicZealot created a tier list for notable items and weapons to keep a lookout for when doing your SotN Rando seeds. I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to me on YouTube if you enjoy my content. I also multi-stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer if you want to check out my content live on stream. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one.